Penguin Random House Audio presents Séance Infernale by Jonathan Skariton. Read for you by MacLeod Andrews. Part 1. October 2002. Chapter 1. The receptionist's black leather pumps echoed on the marble floor of the foyer. She escorted Alex Whitman past an ornamental fountain until they reached a bulky oak-wood door at the end of a granite-paneled hallway. Andrew Valdano turned his leather chair to face Whitman. "Mr. Whitman, please." He motioned at the chair for guests across the desk. Whitman had already sat himself into it. Valdano could have been between 50 and 65 years of age, his mustache a lead gray. His ink-black hair retained its color. His dusty complexion peered out beneath custom-made silk. Valdano's desk was a carved brown mahogany with 4 seated winged griffins surrounding its base. Behind him, the window looked out on a Los Angeles autumn afternoon. Outside, on the building's Gothic facade, granite gargoyles peered out over the city, their claws clasping their grotesque heads. On the room's walls, framed film posters mounted on duck canvas, reminders of elegant works of the past. Intolerance, Love's Struggle Throughout the Ages, The Birth of a Nation, M, The Big Parade. Photographs hung on the walls of figures who had directed these masterpieces: D.W. Griffith, King Vidor, Josef von Sternberg, F.W. Murnau. Valdano broke the silence. "Where is it?" He had the tone of someone used to getting what he wanted. "By all means, skip the opening titles," Whitman said. Whitman had been hired to track down a copy of The Cat Creeps. In this film, an heiress, Helen Twelvetrees, arrives at a remote mansion to claim her fortune and, once there, is terrorized by an escaped maniac, the cat, and the predatory would-be heirs, who are also her relatives. Hardly an admirable film. Another take on the old dark house motif, trying to capitalize on the success of Paul Laney's The Cat and the Canary, of which Creeps was a talky remake. However, The Cat Creeps had been considered lost for decades, and that made it a desirable acquisition, especially for private collectors. Alex Whitman was part archaeologist, part detective for anything related to film. Whitman had to get himself to the right place at the right time. His almost photographic memory of catalogs, locations, and specifications allowed him to beat out collectors and dealers who wagered thousands of dollars depending on whether a film poster was 3-sheet or 1-sheet, whether a film reel found in the depths of a dank basement contained a lost scene or undesirable splices. Such pieces, auctioned at Sotheby's or Bonham's, or even privately, were bombarded with bids. "I left the film cans with your secretary. 8 reels of nitrate film in all," Whitman said. "Let's hope she doesn't blow up." "Condition?" "Projectable, given the date. I'm sure your cronies can get rid of the few tears and the unsteadiness of the image in some frames. There are no deep emulsion scratches, anyway." "So you've seen it?" "I projected it on my living room wall, then decided the wall looked better as it is." Whitman reached into the pocket of his overcoat and took out a crumpled, rolled cigarette. "You can't smoke in here." Whitman fished out his lighter and lit the cigarette. He exhaled blue smoke over the desk space between them. A piece of tobacco got caught between his lips and he spat it over the desk, without losing eye contact with Valdano. Valdano rose from his chair and approached the cabinet to his left, which was flanked by swing-arm lamps. He took out a cut-crystal decanter, turned around, and handed him a glass. Whitman noted the man's pink, ornate nails, manicured to perfection. "You're good at finding things," Valdano said. "Only because the film industry has been good at losing things for years." Valdano ignored him. "Take this piece, for instance. Care to tell me what you know about it, Mr. Whitman?" He motioned to a mounted film poster at the center of the wall to his right. On the poster, towering skyscrapers and magnificent giant structures dominated a sepia-colored landscape. The sharp, jagged lines reinforced its futuristic tones. Berlin, 1927, Whitman said. Originally designed by Heinz Schultz-Neudam. Issued in connection with the release of Metropolis, January 10th of that year. The original 3-sheet poster was produced by UFA's film studio in Germany. Most of them were destroyed or thrown away after being hung on billboards. 4 original copies remain. You own one of the only 2 existing in private hands. An extremely effective and alarming work of art. As is the film, of course, Valdano said. Naturally, this is a fake, as is every poster in this room, Whitman replied. Valdano gave him a mischievous, conspiratorial smile. How is that so? The size doesn't feel right. Nice framing, by the way. Where did you steal it from? A flea market? In fact, the size did seem right, but Whitman reasoned that Valdano was not a fool. He would not leave a film poster valued at more than $500,000 hanging in his office. That's what I like about you, Mr. Whitman. You have an eye for detail. It's a nice facsimile, of course, faithful, even in size, to the original, which you are correct to assume I keep elsewhere. It was rumored he kept a vaulted storage room inside his house, accessed by fingerprint technology and controlled for temperature and humidity. It contained the rarest of film pieces. Valdano continued to look at the poster. I suppose you, of all people, should realize it was a copy by mere glance. Whitman yawned. Did you bring me here to talk about business, or... The collector pointed to the portrait above the Windsor stone fireplace. The picture was a black and white image of a man in his 40s with small ears and kind, wise eyes. The rest of his face was covered in mutton chop side whiskers and a beard. He was holding a white top hat, a cigarette burning between the fingers of his other hand. Do you recognize this man, Mr. Whitman? Whitman ran a hand through his beard. That's Augustin Sekuler, isn't it? The French inventor? Alex Whitman's father, a film memorabilia dealer at a time when the profession had not yet been defined, had Sekuler's picture in their living room. His father didn't have a picture of his wife or his son, but he did have the Lumiére brothers, Thomas Alva Edison, and Edward Muybridge. Sure, Whitman said. Sekuler is thought to be the first person to have recorded moving images on film. In fact, his Prince's Street Gardens scene is considered the world's first motion picture film. The images were recorded in 1888 in Edinburgh, Scotland, years before Edison or the Lumiére brothers. Do you know what happened to him, Mr. Whitman? Nobody does. He was never able to perform a planned public demonstration because he mysteriously vanished from a train in 1890. His body and luggage were never retrieved. Detectives from 3 countries were employed to search for him. No trace was ever found. I think at the time of his disappearance he was on a train to Paris. That is correct, Valdano said, still lost in Sekuler's eyes. He was visiting his brother in Dijon. The plan was to meet with friends in Paris before continuing to New York in time for his scheduled exhibition. It would have been the first public demonstration of moving images. But Sekuler never arrived in Paris. In fact, he was never seen again. Sounds like a 20s Hitchcock gone bad. It's right up your alley, Valdano said. Have you seen any of his work? I've seen Prince's Street Gardens scene. He grinned. All 2 seconds of it. He adjusted himself in the chair. The catalogs state his remaining work also includes Traffic on South Bridge, The Man Walking Around the Corner, and Accordion Player. Valdano looked at him again with that conspiratorial smile. " That is not entirely correct. That's what the catalog...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?